I found the missing hiker's boots before I found any sign of the hiker. They were placed side by side in the middle of the trail, laces tucked neatly inside, like someone had taken them off carefully and didn't plan on meeting them again. The call came in just after noon, a solo hiker overdue by almost a full day, in a section of forest that's popular but easy to drift off trail if you're not paying attention. I was assigned to sweep the eastern ridge, standard procedure. Nothing urgent at first. People get turned around out there all the time. But the boots changed that. They were clean, barely any mud on them, which didn't match the trail conditions after the previous night's rain. I radioed in the find and marked the location. Dispatch confirmed a hiker's description matched the size and brand. That meant he had continued barefoot, which made no sense on that terrain. I started scanning for prints and found them almost immediately, faint but visible, leading off the trail into a denser patch of forest where there's no reason to go unless you're deliberately avoiding the main path. The stride was uneven, like he was limping or walking carefully. I followed them for about 20 minutes before the ground got too rocky to track properly. That's when I noticed the first ribbon, bright orange, tied around a low branch. We use markers like that in search operations, but this one wasn't ours. The knot was wrong, and it was placed too low to be visible from a distance. I checked. Knot was wrong, and it was placed too low to be visible from a distance. I checked with dispatch. No teams had been sent out yet besides me. I kept moving. Another ribbon appeared about 50 yards later, then another. Each one tied slightly differently, like whoever placed them didn't have a consistent method. It felt less like a trail marker, and more like someone trying to imitate one. My radio started picking up intermittent static. Not unusual in that area, but there was something else underneath it. A faint clicking sound that came and went. I tried to ignore it and stay focused. About an hour in, I found a water bottle wedged between two rocks. Same brand as the one listed in the hiker's gear. Half full. Cap screwed on tight. No sign of struggle. No obvious reason it would be there. I logged it and moved on. The forest got quieter the deeper I went. No wind, no birds. Just that occasional clicking in the radio. I called out the hiker's name a few times. Got no response. Then I heard something else. Not loud, just enough to notice. Footsteps, somewhere ahead, moving in short bursts. I stopped and listened. They stopped too. I called out again, louder this time. Still nothing. I started moving again, slower now, scanning the trees. That's when I saw the second set of footprints. Larger, deeper, wearing boots. They crossed the bare footprints at an angle, then continued, parallel for a few steps before veering off in the same direction. That didn't sit right. It suggested someone else had been out there with him or had found him. Either way, it wasn't in the report. I updated dispatch, but the signal dropped halfway through. When it came back, they acknowledged only part of what I said, like they hadn't heard about the second set of prints at all. I repeated it, but the line went dead again. I wrote it down in my notebook. You learn to trust your own records when the radio gets unreliable. A little further in, I came across a clearing I didn't recognize. Not on the map. Not something I'd seen before, even though I'd patrolled that area for years. In the center was a tarp, stretched low between four trees like a makeshift shelter. Under it, there was a sleeping bag, neatly rolled, and a small pile of food wrappers. Everything looked organized, but there was no one there. I checked the contents. The food was recent, same brand as the hiker's supplies. But there were also items that didn't belong to him. A second flashlight, different model, a pair of gloves, larger size, and a notebook. I opened it. The first few pages were blank. Then there were entries, written in short, clipped sentences, times, coordinates, observations. It read like a ranger's log, but the formatting was off. The handwriting changed slightly between entries, like more than one person had written in it, but trying to keep it consistent. One entry caught my attention. It described finding a pair of boots on the trail and following barefoot prints into the forest. The timestamp was from earlier that morning. I hadn't written that. I hadn't even started my patrol at that time. I checked the next entry. It mentioned a second set of footprints. Larger, wearing boots. Same detail I had just tried to report. The time listed was 10 minutes before I had seen them. I felt a shift then. Not panic, just a sense that something wasn't lining up the way it should. I stepped out of the clearing and scanned the area again. That's where I noticed the tarp had a small tear near the edge. Through it, I could see something metallic, partially buried under leaves. I pulled it out. It was a radio. Same model as mine. Same frequency settings. I turned it on. It immediately started transmitting. Not receiving, transmitting. And the voice coming through was mine, describing the clearing, the tarp, the notebook, word for word. What I had just said out loud a few seconds earlier. I shut it off. My own radio crackled in response, but the signal was distorted, like it was trying to sync with something. I backed away from the clearing, keeping my eyes on it. The forest felt tighter now, like the space between the trees had narrowed. I decided to head back and regroup. As I retraced my steps, the orange ribbons were gone. Every single one. The one? Taff looked unfamiliar, even though I had just walked it. I checked my compass. It was spinning slowly, not settling on any direction. I switched to GPS. It showed my location, but the map overlay was blank, like it hadn't loaded. I kept moving in what I hoped was the right direction. After a while, I saw the boots again. Same position, same placement, but I knew I hadn't looped back. The terrain didn't match. I approached them cautiously this time. There was something new. A third set of footprints, smaller, barefoot, leading away from the boots in the opposite direction I had originally followed. I hadn't seen those before. I didn't follow them. I marked the location and called it in. This time, the radio worked. Dispatch responded clearly, said they were sending in a second team. I waited there, keeping an eye on the area. It took them about 40 minutes to reach me. When they arrived, I showed them everything. The boots, the prints, the direction I had taken. We moved together back toward the clearing, but when we got there, it was gone. No tarp, no shelter, no notebook, just undisturbed forest floor. They looked at me like I'd taken a wrong turn. I showed them my notes, the coordinates, the timestamps. One of them checked his watch and frowned. According to his log, I had reported finding the clearing over 2 hours earlier than I actually had. That didn't match my notebook. It didn't match my memory, but it was in the system. These kinds of inconsistencies happen more often than people realize, especially in areas where signals bounce and overlap. But this felt different. We expanded the search, covered more ground, but found nothing else. No hiker, no second person, no sign of where they had gone. The case stayed open for weeks, then eventually got downgraded. Missing, presumed lost. I went back to that area a few times after, always during routine patrols. Never saw the clearing again. Never found the ribbons. But once, about a month later, I came across a water bottle in the same spot as before. Same brand. Same level of water. Cap screwed on tight. I picked it up and checked the label. There was a name written on it in marker. Mine. I hadn't brought a bottle like that. I don't use marker on my gear. I logged it, turned it in, but it never showed up in the evidence report. The last thing I checked before transferring out was the central log system. I searched my name, filtered by that date. There were multiple entries. More than I remembered making. Some described actions I hadn't taken, paths I hadn't walked. One entry stood out. It was marked as completed, with a note that read, "Subject located. Assisted out of area." I never found the hiker. No one did. And the time on that entry was stamped an hour before I even found the boots.